Hi, Gene Hamm here with another excerpt from my book, How to Get a Job in Animation and Keep It. This is about looking for work. A little advice on what to do when you're looking for work. Entry-level positions. Some people will tell you to try for entry-level positions. When I was a young boy, Neva Roberts gave me this piece of advice. Aim for the top. You can always hit the bottom. That's good advice. Imagine you're firing an arrow at an archery target across a football field. If you aim the arrow right at the bullseye, the arrow will fall short. But if you aim above the target, you'll nail the bullseye. Don't take no for an answer. The next step after filling my appointment book up for a week was to go. Basically, what I just missed here was I had an appointment book. Now you can do it with your phone, your smartphone. But I had an appointment book I would fill up, and I wouldn't let myself have breakfast until I'd called a whole bunch of places. Um, the next step after filling my appointment book up for a week was to go to an interview and show my portfolio. I'd been out of college for nearly a decade, so my portfolio was sadly lacking. I learned the hard way what people wanted to see. Some employers would tell me my stuff was too cartoony. They wanted to see more realism. Others said my stuff was too realistic. They wanted to see more cartoons. After taking their advice, I built up my portfolio quite a bit. I had nearly everything someone might ask for. You need to learn when you don't have to take no for an answer. When I was job hunting, there were 3 standard lines the employers would give me, to which I had 4 standard comebacks. You can probably still hear the same lines and just use the same comebacks today. Oh, here's my illustration for don't take no for an answer. So the employer says to you, you don't have what we're looking for. You say, what are you looking for? When they would tell me the kind of drawings they wanted to see, I would find out when they came into the office in the morning. Then I would stay up all night and draw the kind of artwork they told me they wanted. Then I would beat them to their office in the morning by an hour and be there when they walked in. I would greet them with, here are the drawings you wanted to see. I stayed up all night drawing them. Their reaction was usually one of the following. 1, this guy is nuts. 2, if I ever have a deadline, this is the guy I'm going to call. He doesn't mind staying up all night. The employer might say, we don't have anything right now. Then you say, can I call you every 2 weeks? If he doesn't have any jobs on the horizon, he may tell you to call every month. More often, he'll tell you, yeah, sure, you can call every 2 weeks. If something is coming up soon, he will tell you to call every week. That's always a good sign. So write his phone number in your calendar book on the day you first interviewed with him. On each subsequent date in your book, write call so-and-so. Check your calendar book every day. On the dates you have written down to call the employer, call the employer. 2 different results could happen. 1, you will pester him so much that he will hire you just to shut you up. 2, your name will always be fresh in his mind. Maybe he wants some other animator, but that guy just got a job with another studio. You get the job because you're available. This happened to me a few times. Once I was competing against Mike Miner for a storyboard job. He had storyboarded the original Star Trek TV series. Mike was the studio's first choice, but because he was busy and they were under a tremendous deadline, I got the job. When you're their second choice, or even their 39th choice, just do the best job you can. Give them good work on time and at a reasonable price, and the next time you'll be their first choice. Don't ever worry about how you stand against the competition. You can only do your best. The only one to compete against is you. Always strive to do better. There will always be somebody better than you are. There will always be someone you worse. The way the universe is constructed, no matter where you stand, you're always right in the middle. The employer might say, we don't have anything right now. And you might say, do you know who is hiring? Hollywood is a really small town. When you think of Los Angeles, you think of a sprawling megalopolis, but the animation community itself is really small. Once you get in that community, it's like 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows everyone else. In Seaside, Oregon, you can't help but run into loggers. In Hollywood, you can't help but run into animators. The employer knows all of his competitors. If he likes you, he may give you the heads up on a job opening in another studio that hasn't made its way to the want ads. You may beat the rush of applicants. If he hates you and your work, he may recommend you to his rival just to throw a monkey wrench in his biggest competitor. Either way, run right over to the other studio and tell them their competitor recommended you. They might say, "Do you know how to operate Hamm machine or software?" You say, "Yes, I do." When I interviewed for the job as animator on Gumby in Sausalito, they asked me if I could operate a 35mm Mitchell movie camera. I said, "Sure I can." I didn't know one end of a 35mm Mitchell movie camera from another, but I'd operated my own 16mm Bolex movie camera. I figured it couldn't be that much different. As soon as I returned to Hollywood, I called my friend David Allen, the stop-motion animator. He had worked on the original Gumby TV series. I asked him if he knew anything about 35mm Mitchell movie cameras. He shot back, "Sure, all I use are 35mm Mitchell movie cameras. I could teach you how to use one in one afternoon." The next afternoon, he showed me how to load and unload a roll of film. He said, "If you put this belt on this reel and the other belt on the other reel, the camera runs forward. If you switch the belts, the camera runs in reverse. Here's the button for the shutter. Simple." The major stumbling block to my getting hired was removed. The fundamentals of any piece of equipment or software can be learned in an afternoon. You can always discreetly ask someone at the studio, "Psst, you know where the on button is?" When my father, who was a machinist, was job seeking, they asked him if he had a recommendation. He would tell them, "Just hire me for an hour. If you can't tell if I can do the job, then it's you that needs the recommendation." As far as software goes, if you know one animation program, they're all pretty similar. You can have a rough idea of how the unfamiliar program works. The internet is full of tutorials on any software. Besides, most big studios such as Pixar use their own proprietary software, so no matter what program you've learned, you're going to have to learn theirs. All of these questions about how much you know about particular hardware or software are just a test to see how much you really want the job. If you can't handle the pressure at the job interview, you won't be able to handle the pressure of rushing to meet a deadline. If you know deep in your heart that if given the chance, you could do this job, then it's perfectly all right to bullshit your way into a job. But, and this is a big but, once you get the job, the bullshit stops, and you have to prove yourself. Using this technique of not taking no for an answer, I went on 100 or more job interviews and only got 2 employers who told me, "I hate your work. I hate you. If I ever see you come in here again, I will kill you." Not bad odds. And one of the employers who hated my work so much later called me up one day when he was up against a deadline and was hiring anyone who was available. I told him I had a job working at the special effects house across the street from him in the daytime. He told me he'd pay me double if I worked all night. The next morning, my regular boss saw me leaving his rival studio and crossing the street to go to work on my regular special effects job. He met me at the front door. Our eyes met. I thought, "I'm fired." Instead, he gave me a raise because he was afraid the guy across the street would get me. I didn't tell him how much I hated the guy across the street. That's it for now.